Do your morning routines feel rushed and unproductive? Or perhaps you just can't find a seam one that sticks? In this video, I'm gonna break down a powerful morning routine that you can implement today, and it'll set you up for a productive and effective rest of the day. In case you're new here, I'm Nick Urban. Mornings can set the tone for the rest of the day, either good or bad. Instead of just rolling out of bed, grabbing your phone, and doom scrolling through social media, I'm gonna share with you the routine I use every single morning. It's a routine I use to keep my energy levels high all day, to perform at my peak, and all the while bioharmonizing my biology. And of course, the perfect routine often changes as new science emerges and as I discover and implement new things. So I constantly update an article about the optimal morning and evening routines. If you want to check that out, check out the description below. All right, let's get started. I actually lied. The optimal morning routine actually starts the night before. And it starts with not only a good night's sleep, but choosing the 3 outcomes that if I accomplish nothing else would make the day a good day. They can be hard problems, they can be fun things I'm looking forward to. Doesn't really matter, because by selecting the 3 most important outcomes before I go to sleep, my mind has the ability to mull over those 3 items, those 3 outcomes, and they go from my conscious brain to my subconscious and unconscious. And sometimes when I wake up, I've actually solved the problem while I'm sleeping. And even if I haven't, I wake up with clarity and energy and passion to move forward with the day. Now, I'm not going to break down exactly when I do each thing, because we all have different circadian rhythms and mine varies from one season to the next, but this is a general breakdown, and you can adapt each component of it to be longer or shorter depending on your amount of time you have available. So the very first thing I do is I get up out of bed, I go to the kitchen, and I immediately remineralize myself. Minerals are the unsung heroes of the human body. They're required for virtually every single process, and they're required to make minerals work. They're cofactors. No matter your goal or objective, minerals play a role, yet virtually every human today is deficient in minerals, and usually not just 1 or 2, but many. So I personally use a mineral supplement, but the more accessible and budget-friendly approach to this is to just use a pinch of a really clean, high-quality salt. Definitely do this before caffeinating yourself or having any stimulants, because this can help reduce some of the undesirable effects of those substances. Next, I'll go outside and immediately get lots of natural light exposure. I'll do this whether I'm in a tropical climate or far up north, even where light is more scarce in the winter. That's because the sun, during even the darkest and most overcast days, puts out a lot more light than most indoor lighting. You can use a lux meter on your phone and you can measure the difference between a overcast day and the indoors. And when you do this, when you get enough light first thing in the morning, the light goes in through your eyes, through your retina, and activates a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which essentially aligns all the different clocks you have throughout your body to know what time it is and to operate each of the processes at the right time. It's also the time of the day when the UV index is the lowest, so you avoid sunburn and skin damage and any of the other consequences of getting outside during solar noon. Plus, if you spend this time outside in nature, you're able to capitalize on the specific geometric patterns that are only found in nature, called fractals. Those have soothing effects on the nervous system. You're also inhaling terpenes and other bioactive substances that are produced by plants and trees, which are great for human biology. And of course, you can engage in so-called forest bathing. If I'm low on time or it's just too miserable outside, I'll sometimes use the modern convenience of light therapy, specifically red, infrared, and white light, because red and infrared are great in healing and therapeutic, but white light is the most effective one to align the circadian rhythm. But I definitely prefer the natural light exposure at the very least. And if I'm out early enough, I can use a practice called sun gazing. And that is only safe when done when the UV index is 0 for the first few minutes of sunrise and sunset every day. It's been used for thousands of years and is written about in the ancient Ayurvedic texts as having a wide range of benefits that we cannot get from any other light exposure. Of course, check with your physician, make sure you're doing it right. I have an article on sun gazing if you want to learn more. I'll put that in the description as well. But either way, make sure you're getting light exposure first thing in the morning. And humans have known about this for thousands of years, dating back to ancient Ayurveda and probably before that. It might be in vogue now, but it's well understood, well known, and we're still uncovering a lot of the mechanisms by how it works. Next up, as I already alluded to, when I go outside, I like to move around because in my opinion, movement is far more important than having dedicated exercise blocks where you're crushing yourself with workouts. Low-level activity throughout the day keeps stress hormones low and is much more biocompatible. It's also great for lymphatic drainage, for circulation and blood flow, for oxygenation, for fascial health, for cognitive function and blood sugar stability. Overall, walking is one of the best things you can do for your health. And so to combine that with light exposure, ideally in nature, sets the stage for an awesome morning. If you live a fairly low stress lifestyle, you could also tack on a short, high intensity workout. The original Tabata protocol is 20 seconds on of hard work, followed by 10 seconds of rest for a grand total of 4 minutes. Yes, you really don't need a 60-minute HIIT class to reap the benefits. So you could do that, or you can capitalize on some of the cool new technologies that help do similar things, such as electromuscle stimulation or blood flow restriction, and you can use those to amplify your morning routine. Now, since we're stacking a bunch of things here, another great thing to add into your routine is deliberate breathwork practice. There are a ton of different styles. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. They all have different uses and benefits, but doing some deliberate breath work while you're walking out, ideally in nature, getting that natural sunlight, helps correct one of the most prevalent issues of today, and that is dysfunctional breathwork patterns. So you can either use something simple like a 4-4 box breath, where you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, or you can practice your breath hold and really strengthen your diaphragm. There's lots of different options here. The modern version of this is to use a device to find what's called your resonant frequency breath rate, and that is essentially your bio-individual breath cadence that most effectively rebalances your nervous system. It's generally a cadence of around 4 to 6 breaths per minute, but it varies dramatically from person to person. You can also see the benefits of resonant frequency breathing on brainwave activity, and it increases something called brain-heart coherence. So it actually puts your brain into a better state to handle the stressors that are going to come at you later in the day. If you happen to be near a beach, you can also add in grounding or earthing at the same time. There's controversy over how exactly it's working, whether it's helping dispel free electrons in the body or to absorb. Personally, I lean towards the theory of it helping dispel free electrons, although it doesn't really matter why it works, because we know it does work to do all kinds of things, from reducing inflammation and pain to improving circulation and blood flow, and even helping mitigate the effects of non-native electromagnetic fields. If you want to get fancy or you don't live somewhere that's feasible, you can use grounding or earthing products such as grounding shoes or a mat or an earthing pad. Any of those can also work. Now you might be wondering whether I'm going to include a mention of cold therapy here, such as hopping in the ice bath for a couple minutes at a time. Because of the theoretical changes to dopamine and mental resilience and testosterone and other hormones, whether or not that'll help you depends a ton on the person and how well you're keeping your other facets of stress in check. If you are going to use cold in the morning, I would avoid very long soaks in cold temperatures, because the research shows that you really don't need that big of a dose to get the impact. And if you're already not sleeping enough, you're intermittent fasting, you're using the cold plunge, you're stressed out from work, all of that can add too much to your allostatic load, your so-called stress bucket, and really just dysregulate your nervous system and entire body much more than the benefit it's providing. One of the biggest ones for me is definitely to use some form of introspective tool to help rewire the brain for greater plasticity, for change, and to reorient the way I see the world. That could be something as simple as a daily gratitude practice, where you just spend a few minutes coming up with things that you're appreciating, however big or small. That could be using a tool that Dr. Joe Dispenza popularized called mind movies, which are essentially an upgraded form of affirmation that pairs visual with auditory stimulus to slip encouraging and uplifting beliefs into your subconscious, essentially doing the exact opposite of what TV programming ads do. So instead of feeling like you're incomplete without a particular substance with a long list of side effects, you're moving towards a desired goal or trait that you want to embody. I'll put a link to some of my favorite sources of mind movies in the description for this video, along with everything else I've discussed so far. Personally, my favorite is actually the upgraded form of meditation called neurofeedback. It's essentially a quantified form of meditation that helps your brain learn how to access whatever state you want to be in on command without any external substances. The benefits are sometimes compared to decades of meditation training, although these only take a few sessions. They're a bit more expensive, so definitely an upgrade from traditional meditation. If you want to see more content like this on optimal human performance and bioharmonization, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. All right, the way I like to end my optimal morning routine is to do a very short micro deep work session. Now, you can go one of two routes here. You can either eat the metaphorical frog and put a few minutes of work in on your hardest task of the day, the thing that is the most important for you to accomplish, because once you start doing that, you're not going to want to stop. You'll have a little bit of progress and want to keep going. Or on the other hand, you can also start with one of your easiest tasks of the day, because that can build a lot of momentum, which you then carry on to the other tasks throughout the day. But I just carve out 5 minutes at least every single morning for that micro deep work session. And that's how I lead the optimal wellness routine into the optimal high performance routine. And there you have it, the tools to create a morning routine that's not only sustainable, but sets you up for peak performance every single day. So, which part of this routine will you try first? Let me know in the comments below, and share this video with someone who's ready to start optimizing their routines. See you in the next video. Be an outlier.